And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. An educator, writer, and adventurous, Tess lived by the philosophies of peace, caring, and sharing. Born in Saskatchewan, Tess grew up in an adventurous family. Her grandma was a nurse who was sent by the Canadian government to the Arctic during the flu epidemic in the 1920s. On today's Open Connection, we're going to open our archives to bring you this story from 1980.
Well, I suppose because my grandmother used to come to Edmonton from the Arctic. She was in the Northwest Territories in the early 19th century. She was the only woman to go up and down the Mackenzie River with her own scows, bringing supplies from Edmonton, going for 1,800 miles down the water to Aklavik and supplying her trading post for trading. There was very little money exchange in those days. It was always trading. And I used to hear her stories when she'd come out to Edmonton. I was fascinated by them. In 1937, our family went there for a few years. Then I came outside for my education and married and settled in Terrace for a number of years. But in my meantime, my grandmother passed away. My grandfather, whom many people in Terrace know as Granddad, came to live with me for 16 years. And again, I had the opportunity to listen to so many of his stories of the North, knowing one day that I would return to the North when my family was grown. And this is exactly what I've been doing the past 5 years, doing research to hopefully write a novel of the Northwest Territories, doing it in Inuit, telling the story of three families, the Angalalic family, telling of the white man coming to the Northwest Territories about the turn of the 17th century, and then writing it back in English so not to lose the flavor of the Inuit culture.
That sounds like it could take quite a while.
Well, I've been doing it for 15 years off and on, and I'm not doing just research. I'm, in the meantime, having fun and making, doing caravans, doing canoe trips, and whatever happens to at that time. So it'll be another probably 10 or 15 years before I have completed the research, and it'll probably take 5 years in the writing of it. And also in the works, I like to do the story of remarkable women of the North, because in my research, I found so little of the women. There just isn't much written about the women. And the men, yes. But where there were men, there were women. They just seem to have forgotten this. So I am doing research on the women who were in the North and those who went.
Mm-hmm. And I also understand you're going to make your pet Gigi into widely.
Oh, yes. Gigi's been doing stories, too. I'm telling them for the adults, and she's telling them for the children. It's Gigi's travels. Gigi leaves California from the SPCA and then travels and up to California, gets in on the 41 sperm whales beaching in Florence, Oregon, and then travels all through the BC and up the Dempster Highway, around the Arctic. She has 6 puppies airborne, flying over all the Eskimo villages, and we dropped off 4 in the villages, so she'll be returning to see them, and they'll be telling her all their experiences and their life and whatnot. We'll just relate them back to the children in the form of children's books.
Meanwhile, on your travels in the North, you've been collecting quite a few little tidbits, the embroidery on your clothing, some of the, I guess, mucklucks or carvings and what have you.
Yes.
What are some of these?
One of the things that I think is very interesting, it's called moose tuffing. It's done with the white hair from the bell of the moose and also from the back of the neck. And this is pulled out while the skin is still warm. And they make these flowers. You feel it. They just feel, and they're raised. Their flowers are set into a little round backing, and then cut this in half. And then this is the natural moose tuffing, and then this one on this side is where it is done in color.
So this is the actual.
That's the actual moose hair. Yes.
Feels like bristles off a brush.
It does. Yes. And they're very, very. It's a dying art, actually. People in Fort Providence, I think it was the Grey Nuns in the 40s, who had the idea they weren't able to get thread, and so they decided to use moose hair for sewing. And then they got into this. It's been like I say, it is a dying art, but it's very beautiful. That was one thing that I brought out was the.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
White Spirit Bear tells the story of unusual and beautiful creatures that inhabit ancient rainforests on the northwest coast of British Columbia. In White Spirit Bear, Tess hopes to promote further education and awareness of living with unity and harmony with our planet Earth and all the creatures. Let us return in the archives with Tess Brousseau.
A pair of slippers. They're not really a muckluck. The pair that I've been wearing is a muckluck, but it's a pair of slippers that I think are quite beautifully done with beaver. A lot of the Indians do beadwork, whereas the Eskimos do embroidery work. This seems to be the difference between the two of them. And the work that they do it on is called stroud, which is 100% wool. And the only place you can buy stroud is in the Northwest Territories. You can't buy it outside.
Why is that?
So, I think that it's just that we just don't need it as much. You have to wear it where it's has severe temperatures. Like this skirt that I'm wearing is a stroud skirt. Keeps you warm.
This is really light material, and it's not very thick or anything. Does that actually keep very warm?
Oh yes, you put a pair of inside of this. You usually have a pair of strouds, or duffel. This is called duffel. Now these go inside of a pair of slippers or a pair of mucklucks, and that you just put your hand there. It's just you can feel the warmth of it. It's very, very warm. But this is something that everybody wears indoors. It's a pair of duffel slippers, and inside of the mucklucks they'll also wear a high, tight ankle.
So these aren't just sold as a tourist attraction?
No.
No.
The Eskimos wear them, and the Indians wear them. Oh yes. And these are just maybe miniature mucklucks. It's called a zipper pull. You put them on your zipper. And use them for your zipper pull. And these are very hard to come by. The Eskimos don't like to make them. They're very difficult to make. Not difficult, but they're more, you have to be more careful, I think, than you do when you have the bigger one. The larger they are, the easier they are to make. And this, again, is just a little pair of slippers. It has lots of color. They love to add color. Well, that's another pair of mucklucks. And they love to add color to their, and they do all sorts of stitching. Many kinds of stitching. And then this is some soapstone that I took up that I had. I didn't know it was going to come out brown, and they had never seen brown soapstone. You get a lot of the grays, greens, and blacks, but not brown. And they were very intrigued with this, and just brought out a sampling to show what it looked like. And then this is the black soapstone. Now this is a piece that I was given to my grandfather 75 years ago, and they've never seen anything like it. It's when two Eskimos greet each other, and the arms circle right around the entire two Eskimos. It's a man and a lady greeting.
Oh, and this is made out of what?
And that's made out of soapstone. But it must be, it is very, very old. I've asked different museums and the Oblate Fathers and others, and they had just no recollection of ever seeing anything like that. So it must have been made many years ago, and that style or whatever it is, pattern has been. Well, usually they make one and they break it, because it's usually always originals.
Is there anything that you particularly learned from the North that you feel just helps you get along better day by day?
They live in simplicity. They live not in the materialistic world. They live togetherness. In the old days, if you didn't do things together, you didn't survive. And that is still there among the people themselves. Everybody participates no matter what it is. They're very close to nature in itself. They enjoy being with one another, and the children, they have a lot of time on their hands, and they make a lot of hand games. They use their hands. They do these things like this, but they have to match their hands. They're taking strings and making polar bears. Their hands are busy, and I think when you have busy hands, you have busy minds. And you don't have they don't seem to have the vandalism. They don't have the trouble with the Eskimos don't spank the children. They don't need discipline, because wherever the parents are, the children are with them, and they're teaching them. And they're a happy people within themselves. So I think all I can say is that I have learned a lot from Eskimo people in the North.
Tess asked if we wouldn't pass along this footnote about a man from Old Remo, John Barr, who sent 10 Star of Bethlehem plants to the Order of Grey Nuns stationed in various parts of the Northwest Territories. They were delivered by a tugboat captain and are now reported to be thriving. The nuns sent their heartfelt thanks to Barr for the gift and note that it's the first time a Baptist gift has been delivered to Catholic nuns by a Protestant.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. The Broadcasting Act established the Canadian Radio Television Commission to regulate and supervise all aspects of the Canadian broadcasting system. In 1976, Parliament changed the name to the Canadian Radio Television and Telecommunications System, or CRTC. Let us return to archives with Gordie Brown.
Our first look focuses on Grand Isles TVRO and on the Houston Smithers Rebroadcast Society's efforts toward establishing their own receiving station sometime in the near future. Gordie Brown is the chairman of the Grand Isle Rebroadcasting Society.
How long has the Air Satellite Receiver Station been here, and how did you go about getting one here?
Well, the dish itself was set up approximately 2 weeks ago. They had one channel on for 10 days now, and the second channel went on last week.
Mm-hmm. How did you go about getting one here?
Oh, it was started originally in 1978 when we asked Crowder Communications to quote on our CTV signal.
Mm-hmm.
They had told us at that time that we could get Earth Station for around $60,000, but it wasn't legal at that time. 1 year ago, the CRTC have legalized it, and we thought that we would like to try it. Last July, Crowder was in and did a test, showed us what the satellite TV was like, and we were, the people that had seen it really liked it, and the signal was very much better than rebroads.
Mm-hmm.
And we first tried to raise money through contributions from the people of Grand Isle, and it was a long, hard journey, and we didn't raise too much money. Everybody wanted the TV, but we didn't have enough workers. Then we approached the village and showed them our plan, and they were responsive to it, and that's how we got our TV.
Just what is the advantage as far as you're concerned with this kind of a system?
Well, the main advantage is once you pay your capital costs, there's no other costs at present. Another advantage is the signal is so much clearer than the microwave systems.
How have people in town reacted to it? I assume that pretty well everybody's receiving it now.
I've had nothing but good reports. Everyone seems to be very happy to be able to select more than just the two channels. The sports coverage is quite great. Last week we had 4 NHL games and basketball out of Atlanta, Georgia, and lots of movies. I realize that this is a new thing for government agencies and all, and I believe that this kind of communication, we're just scratching the surface, and that it is the thing of the future.
So you don't really anticipate problems then with the licensing or anything?
No, I don't believe so. There's enough of them up now that it's not very, it wouldn't be very good for the politicians to pull them out. There'd be a lot of angry people.
So far, it seems to be mostly the isolated communities with no television service or no choice of service that are having the TVRO systems installed. But it only follows that their more urbanized counterparts will hear about the systems, become interested, and want the same kind of advanced television service, possibly to the detriment of established broadcasting companies already in their area. Such is the situation with the Smithers Houston Rebroadcasting Society. Chairman Mike Walker says he believes there is a way whereby the existing cable company, Skeena Broadcasters, can work with the societies in using the advanced technology to mutual benefit.
And the other thing that I proposed to TK, and I don't know whether it's legal right now or not, or what the ramifications are, but we have the American stations going right by our door in microwave now. So one of the other things that we're looking at will have to be looked at from the international aspect is rebroadcasting those channels that are going by our door right now. The reason we're looking at rebroad versus cable is because, like, you take a town like Houston, it's a 10-mile square district. So there's no way that you're going to cover that area with cable. You're going to cover maybe 50% of it. Smithers is a little more compact. People are close together there. So you can reasonably put cable in there. I understand from TK that we can use the Earth satellite to rebroad on cable. Apparently that is licensed and we can do it now. So ideally, say for a situation like Houston, we could look at putting your satellite station in, bringing in PBS, CBC, which is already up there, CTV, which are now basically just testing. But we could bring those three in, rebroad them off there, and the rest on cable, and we could really reduce our cable charges. We could do a lot of things. So I put the question back to the private television people. If these things are available to us, what's happening?
In northern parts of the rest of Canada, there are satellite receiver stations that are picking up Chicago, Atlanta, all movie-type stations and so on. When people know that that's up there on the RCA satellite, are they going to be happy getting CBC, CTV, PBS, what have you?
Well, I think that's one of the problems. We've got a private television company in Tess that's been in business for quite a few years. I think they've done the reason that if people look at the area that TK's had to service and under the conditions with the service, they're darn lucky they had television as long as they had. I'm saying that maybe that we should be looking at in this country is a working agreement between the two to see what we can do in treatment. We're lucky here then that we've got the access of microwave, we've got the access of satellite television. If you live up in Arctic Red River, you've only got one, and that's Earth satellite. So we're lucky here that we've probably got two or three systems we can look at. And all I'm saying is that we're trying to look at all of them and put the best combination together for the valley. And if we can do that in conjunction with TK, all the better, because they're the people that have been here. If we can do it to match our community needs, that's what I'm looking for. There's all kinds of garbage you can watch. I guess where I'm looking for is to put something that everybody in cross-section can watch, and that's really what we're trying to do. If we wait for the government to approve satellites, we'll be here for a long time. I think it's a political football, and I think if you look at the reasoning behind it, you can see why. You've got companies and governments who spend a lot of money on microwave systems and everything else, and for somebody to shoot up a satellite now and start shooting it off, that satellite has some pretty major ramifications throughout the communication industry. So that's where your conflicts come in. I don't see any great hassle with smaller communities in America going to satellite television and working on agreements. I can't see the government hauling the town with 3,500 people into court. Yeah.
Or confiscating?
Or confiscating or anything else. I don't know I don't think anybody knows how many of these satellite dishes are working. And if the government's turned a blind eye this long, I think it's here to stay. And I think you'll see things being made with cable companies, with private television companies too. Because let's face it, if they can use, if you could put a satellite station here, it's a lot cheaper for you people than paying that $40,000 a month down that line. Eh? And let's face it, if we can use BCTV channel, then we don't need to pay that money coming in right now and save the taxpayers of Valley $35,000 a year. So these will have to be sorted. I don't think you're going to, we're not going to push and have it here in 6 weeks or 6 months. I think we'll do something in 1980. Hopefully we do it the right way.
On upcoming issues of Skeena Journal, we will talk with the general manager of Skeena Broadcasters, Mike Tyndall, about his impressions of the situation. As well, we have interviews with Peter Crowder, the man behind Crowder Communications, a company that's finding itself swamped with requests for information or for installations of the TVROs. Our objective is to give our viewers as much information, pro and con, as we can on this complex matter. so that decisions and actions are taken with a full understanding of the results that they could bring.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
The one thing that really does help me is connecting back to my culture.
Today I'm trying to get outside and enjoy the weather.
Give a call to my distant family, tell them that I love them.
In 1952, inland natural gas was incorporated to distribute natural gas throughout the interior of British Columbia. Today, Fortress, BC has approximately 2,600 employees serving more than 1.2 million customers in 135 BC communities and 58 First Nations communities across 150 traditional territories. In this final segment of Open Connection, let us return the archives to 1997.
Three hands helped turn on the valve. The $420,000 project was a joint effort between the Haisla, the provincial government, and PNG. Chief Councillor Felix Grant says it's about time.
Well, I think it's a big day for us because we've been waiting for it for so long. We've anticipated through about 4 or 5 administrations where and many times it's been just about promise.
Well, it's taken a lot of hard work. I recall going back at least 15 years ago when we were looking at a project that was going to be about double the cost that it ended up being. We looked at putting it across the water channel, and at the end of the day decided it was just too costly, just couldn't be done. So we persevered. A lot of people hung in there and just never gave up. And here we are today with, not only do we have the line to the village, we have over half of the customers now on natural gas.
Homes are still being hooked up. It will take more than a few weeks until everyone's connected. Pipe is still being fitted and cut to meet each home's needs, and over 100 homes are ready for the change.
In 1991, I went door knocking in the community here, and I met an elderly lady who had to pack wood upstairs, and one of the things she asked me about was why they didn't have natural gas. So I will never forget the conversation.
Until now, the Haisla have had few choices to heat their homes at a high cost.
To actually see it come into our village it's a happy day for all of us. Well, both my husband and I are old age pensioners now, and he's unable to go and get wood, buck it up and chop it up, and I'm unable to pack it into the house and feed the stove. So I think by hooking up to the gas, it will make my life much easier.
Many new homes in the village are being built and will have gas heating. For those converting, it offers a cheaper, easier way to keep warm this winter.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our majesty within. I'm Robert Pictou.